Well, here we are. We are all set. The round of 16 at the 2024 Australian Open is here. This is when things really tend to heat up, and we see some seed-on-seed action. A couple of outsiders have made it in Arthur Cazaux and Bourgeois. Anyways, let's look at something else, though. Something else that caught my attention outside of the draw. I did pretty good, by the way, with the draw. This round of 16, of the 16 players remaining, I have 9 of them. It's better than 50%, which is a good stat on your second serve, and I'll take it. Anyways, but something else caught my eye. Many of you may have seen this making the rounds. Take a look at this from the Sports Mosquito. Roger Federer only had a problem because Novak Djokovic's family started shouting, "The king is dead." The Serb's take on dislike for his behavior irks some fans. This all started when somebody asked Djokovic what he thought about young players like Ben Shelton who come in with a lot of bravado, a lot of confidence, to the point where maybe they think it's a little arrogant. Think about Holger Rune and Stan Wawrinka, what was that last year, the year before, when Wawrinka had some criticism for the way Holger Rune carried himself on the court. And he asked Djokovic, did anyone not like the way you carried yourself on the court in the early days? And Djokovic, he brought the name Federer into the conversation, and that got a lot of people's attention. I can imagine some Federer fans out there went the full Will Smith after they heard this and said, "Keep my GOAT's name out your mother-loving mouth, Novak Djokovic." Not here at Coffee Break Tennis. We're more of a big three fan. We have equal love for the big three here. Anyways, so let's go and look at what Djokovic actually said. But first, let's go to a comment, just to show you, one, that Djokovic hatred is alive and well everywhere you look. From Sinjab5908, Nole is mental. He needs to leave tennis. I'll never understand this. The other day, someone I really like and respect said to me after I was talking about how Rafa looked pretty good before he got injured again and should be back for the clay. He said Rafa just needs to retire. He needs to go away, give it up. The injuries are not going to let him. It's wrecking his body. He needs to stop. I remember years ago hearing someone say Federer and Nadal, they might even said Djokovic too, all three of them needed to quit so they could let some younger people win for a change. I really hated that comment. Anyways, so this guy says Djokovic needs to leave tennis. I'll never understand why people think they can tell these guys they need to leave tennis. They need to do whatever they want to do because they've earned it at this point, just like Andy Murray as well. I think they've earned to go out however they want to go out. And Djokovic is obviously not done. But this guy says Djokovic needs to leave tennis. First of all, he knows that guy, meaning the guy who was heckling him the other day, is not going to get past security. And second, even if he did, if he faced him in real life, Djokovic would run the other way to protect his little fingers, which is, not the craziest thing to imagine because, hey, if you are Novak Djokovic, why would you fight some drunk guy when you could get injured? You're the greatest of all time. You got some Grand Slams to win. Why risk getting injured? It's not worth it. But I'll say one thing to credit Nole. He's a little bit loco. And I think a lot of people, that's the thing about Djokovic, you don't know. Like Tsitsipas, he would probably run away. Djokovic might come over and say, I'm not going to risk injuring my little fingers, so I'm just going to crack you in the head with my racket at a very high swing speed, which I should point out would probably be very dangerous for the person getting cracked in the head by Novak Djokovic. But that's the thing about Djokovic. You just don't know. He's a little bit crazy. You don't know what he might actually do. Anyways, let's go to a good comment. That's a bad comment. Let's go to a good comment because it ties into all this. A great question. I'll never, ever get bored of debating, or just talking about in general, en général, why, as Adrian Mannarino would say, why do so many people hate Novak Djokovic? And it goes back to one of my first videos before I made this talk show format kind of coffee break tennis thing. I didn't have a name yet. I was on Peter Freeman's Crunch Time Coaching channel, and he'd let me do some videos every now and then for him. And I did one where I introduced my idea of the Djokovic theorem. I called it my Joker theorem. And that was that so many fans around the world hate Djokovic and are going to show him that, and he's going to get booed, and he's not going to get the love that he wants from crowds around the world. And ultimately, that would destroy him, and he wouldn't be able to win many more majors because of that. Unlike Roger and Rafa, who are so loved, they would go on to win more than Djokovic in the end. That was my theorem. It was totally wrong. I almost had it. I was just completely 180 the wrong way. So if you do the opposite of my theorem, the truth we get there. And the truth is what I think now, years later, I reformulated this theorem. It's that Novak Djokovic is the mentally toughest athlete that we've ever seen because of this treatment, I think. So it's a very interesting topic to me. Let's go to Fortescue Santa Vesui. I think it's a Latin name. Welcome back, Matt. Great to see you. Djokovic touched in an interview with Serbian journalist Dusan Djukanovic of B92 Serbian media on this incident. Here's what he said. The journalist says, "Are there specific situations with hecklers that you remember the most, Novak?" And Novak says, "I remember the annoying ones, to be honest. There were comments from people, sometimes Serbians, sometimes Auslanders, as well as about the duration of the match, that they had to go to dinner, get a drink. And, I can imagine that, someone saying like, 'Come on, Nole, win this right now. I got dinner in 30 minutes, something like that. That could annoy you a bit, says Djoker, but it was no big deal. On the other hand, there were many occasions when I received insults, and that's another story." What exactly did they say to you? How did they insult you? Says the journalist. And Djokovic says, "I don't want to tell you those vulgarities. I don't want to repeat them here. Of course, they curse, especially in the night matches. When people have been drinking all day, they come here, and I'm not their favorite player, and they try to disrupt me in every way possible. If they don't succeed, sometimes they cross the line, they allow themselves too much, and that's that." And he puts the link below. You can find that article. Look in the comments if you want to click on that link. So I'll go back to that one more time. They come here to my match, Djoker Nole's match. I'm not their favorite player, and they try to disrupt me in every way possible. It's my Djoker theorem. It's come back. These people are going to succeed. I think there's a certain feeling of power if you're a drunk guy heckling a player. You feel like, I can swing this match. You feel like if I heckle my hardest, I can get Djokovic so upset, it throws him off his game, and he loses. And losing here at the Australian Open at this stage in the game could change tennis history, could alter the course of history forever. You can almost see the appeal of it. Someone might feel very powerful with an opportunity like this. But as I said before, I think the opposite is true. I think these people have strengthened Djokovic. The one time Djokovic looked, I don't want to say the weakest, but the least himself to me was when the crowd was fully behind him, it felt like. He was going for the Grand Slam, the calendar year Grand Slam at the U.S. Open against Medvedev. Couldn't deliver. Didn't have hecklers in the crowd to fuel him. Anyways, let's move on to what Djokovic actually said in the press conference that set this firestorm off, where people are disagreeing with Djokovic's version of history of why people, including Roger Federer, didn't like the way he carried himself in the beginning. I think it's Ben Rothenberger, and he basically compares him to Ben Shelton, says, hey, Ben Shelton carries all this charisma and energy, and some people think it's a little arrogant maybe. Were you like that? What happened to you? Here we go.
When you first came on tour, you had a big personality also, and were very expressive, and I'm wondering if
like
there were
Ben
ever
Shelton.
any older players who ever made criticisms to you or gave you advice?
Oh yeah, it's good.
Made you
It's
want
cold.
to
It's so
change your
cold here.
behavior.
Oh my
If
God.
there's ever a moment that you can think of when someone else in the sport made you rethink things.
It's a good question. I mean, I think I know certainly the Federer didn't like the way I was behaving, at the beginning. I think I didn't sit with him well. I don't know about the others. I guess I wasn't the favorite type of guy to some of the top guys, because I was not afraid to say that I want to be the best player in the world. I was I was confident, and I felt like I have the game to back it up. But I never, ever lacked respect.
I think it's a fair point. Someone might say, Matt, well, when you respect your opponent, you don't rip your shirt off after you win. But Djokovic said earlier in that presser, and I think he's right, we're going to face mental demons. The pressure is huge. Even playing in league matches like what I do, at much lower level than these guys, obviously. College matches, whatever, high school matches, so much pressure. It's hard to explain to someone who hasn't been there what it's like. And we all deal with it differently, is what Djokovic said. We all deal with those inner demons differently. And he said, I'm an extrovert, and I show it more. We've seen Roger show it. We've seen everyone show it, except for Rafa, really. Rafa keeps it in pretty well. So I think that's a fair assessment. I think he's, for the most part, has kept it respectful. And, he's saying people didn't like him early on because he had the courage to come right out and say, I'm going to be the best. I know I can beat these guys, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be number one. and I want to beat Rafa and Roger. And obviously, a lot of Federer fans definitely didn't like that. So let's go to the article from the Sports Mosquito. It starts off, tennis fans did not agree with Novak Djokovic's assessment. Several claim that Roger Federer's aversion to him originated from the incident where the Serbian's family reportedly chanted, "The king is dead, long live the king." This is 2008 Australian Open. In the semifinals, Tsonga, would go on to beat Nadal. Much easier. Beat him bad. At least Federer kept it kind of close. And Federer fans are sure to point out, this was the year that Federer had mono. So that definitely was working against Roger as well. So they go to this one guy. Roger only had a problem basically saying that because people chanted, "The king is dead, the king is dead." Well, that's Djokovic's dad. And we all know that Djokovic's dad, I think his name's Srijan, something like that. We all know that he said some crazy things out there. That's not Djokovic. I understand Federer's side. You don't know. You're playing a match in the dude's player box. They're saying stuff like that to you. It'd make me angry too. I get that. But we can't fault Djokovic for that. Roger was critical, says Noel, because your dad goes around saying the king is dead because you beat him once. It's kind of unsurprising. Ben Rothenberger said something that's not showing here. I wish I could see that one. He's the guy who actually asked the question. Sundar Rajan said, somehow this guy would like to bring Roger into his conversation. No matter what he achieves, he will never receive the universal adulation and love that Roger received. Here's another one. They shouldn't have even put this one in. I don't have the name. The salty B.I. Itch is still whining about Ben Shelton and crying about who did and didn't like him 20 years ago. Laughing, well, this guy doesn't have the context. He was specifically asked about Ben Shelton and all this stuff. So Djokovic is just, doing the right thing here and trying to answer the journalist's question. Mackie Hackey says, LMAO, people didn't like him because he was and is an ass. Wanting to be the best in the world is not why people couldn't stand him. And there's a reason why Federer won the sportsmanship. Shut up, move on, blah, blah, blah. Did Novak forget all that? Now, this one, I think, is fair to point out. Andy Roddick brought this up. A lot of people thought Djokovic was like a sore loser, maybe, because he retired from some matches early on. Obviously, it turned out not to be the case. But I do remember this early years. People would have talked about this from the tennis letter, or it doesn't have the name on here. Screw him. Did Novak forget all medical timeouts he was faking when he came to the tour? Did he forget famous Roddick comments about it? Which were, honestly, if you go back and watch those famous Roddick comments now, Roddick kind of comes off as a little bit of a jerk, really, in my opinion. Faking, I don't know about faking. I don't think Djokovic was faking. I think, obviously, when he switched the diet and got rid of the chleb, got rid of the went gluten-free, things changed a lot. So I don't think Djokovic was faking it, but he was retiring from matches, and maybe some fans didn't like that. That's true. I thought, Djokovic righted that ship over the years. At this point, Ben Shelton needs to be like, dude, at least my family never yelled the king is dead. Yeah, that's not cool, but Djokovic didn't do that. It's his dad. He can't control his dad. Federer didn't like Djokovic's behavior in the beginning. He was a brat. Djokovic changed. They've been amicable ever since. I'm sure the Nole fam, okay, blah, blah, blah. Now let's get to the real one, because to me, some of that stuff is debatable. Some of that stuff's not even worth mentioning. But this right here, Nick Kyrgios, has been so good in the booth. He nails it. Kyrgios has always maintained that Roger Federer was the nicest player to watch. He says, quote, that doesn't mean, like, if I was to go out there and say, like, who would I want to watch? Like, I think Roger Federer obviously is the nicest player to watch. He's the most talented. He makes the game look effortless. And he's like Michael Jordan of tennis. Like, without Roger, would there have been a Novak? Would there have been a Rafa? Something to chase. And I think that's fair, very fair to point out from Mr. Kyrgios. It all started with Roger. Roger came out and looked like the greatest tennis player ever. It didn't matter, forget the fact that Roger was winning all these majors. He just looked like the greatest tennis player. The strokes looked so perfect. I would still rather watch a Roger match than a Djokovic match, most likely. Just for the aesthetics of it. I like to watch Grigor Dimitrov just for the aesthetics of it. But when it comes down to playing for the history of being the greatest of all time, okay, I guess I'd rather watch a Djokovic match because that seems to matter more. He's going for a 25th major. But I like what Kyrgios said next. Roger set this up. Rafa, Djoker had something to chase. They created this three-way rivalry that to me is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, the most interesting thing in sports for sure. And without Roger doing that first, we wouldn't put so much importance on who's the GOAT, who's the greatest. So my advice to the people that are complaining there in the Twitter comments you see featured in that article, you have yourselves to thank, because all the hate that you gave to Djokovic over the years, instead of just sitting back and watching these three and letting them determine who's the greatest of all time, who's going to win the most, trying to change how the stats work and say, oh, well, having the most majors doesn't count as, being the greatest of all time anymore. I just want you to remember, like that heckler the other night, it's people like you in the stands who gave all this hate to Djokovic for all these years that made him who he is today and made him into the toughest, and now with his 24 majors and maybe soon to be 25, made him the greatest tennis player of all time. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. Coming at you like a European bullet train, served by Nick Kyrgios off of the very floppy trampoline-like strings of Adrian Mannarino. It is I, the greatest tennis commentator of all time, in the greatest, most coziest, gemütlicher tennis cabin in the world, right here at Coffee Break Tennis Studios. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. We are very happy to be here, and we've got it all for you right here. Let's look at the top of the draw really quick. Obviously, Djokovic not playing Ben Shelton, playing Adrian Mannarino. It's a very different match, but I think it'll be a good one. Head-to-head is 4-0 for Novak Djokovic, and the last time they played, I happened to be there. We'll look at that. Steph and Cilic, that was dumb. Steph and Fritz. Sometimes I let my hatred blind me too. Although I gotta say I'm turning a corner with Fritz, especially I even like what is her name? Morgan. Fritz's girlfriend. I'm even starting to like her for some reason. What's going on here? Comment below. Am I losing my mind? Jannik Sinner and the big Khachanov. Karen Khachanov and Jannik Sinner. All this is on tonight. And the Demon and Rublev. I'm going, I might have got 9 out of 16 right. Looking at the bottom really quick. Arthur Cazaux versus Hooby Dooby, her catch. Nuno Bourgeois and Danny Medvedev. I might have been wrong on some stuff there, but I think the winners, I'm going to come out on top. We got Kecmanovic and Carlitos Alcalitos. We got Sasha Zverev and Casper Ruud is not there. It's Scam Nori again. He scammed us all. He said his wrist was hurt, and it turned out it was just another lie from Scam Nori. But I have Zverev winning that. I have Carlos. I have Medvedev. I have Rune. I'll be wrong there. I have Nole. I have Tsitsipas. I have Sinner. I have Rublev. I think I have a good chance of being right when it comes to the quarterfinals on 7 out of 8. That's a pretty good score, even for my standard of excellence that we have here at Coffee Break Tennis. Where I'm wondering is the Demon, actually. I'm wondering if the Demon can take out Rublev. I don't give Khachanov much of a chance over Sinner, although, Khachanov's good. But Sinner's at another level, a level that I think should scare Djokovic fans a little, because Sinner's probably going to get some cramps and not be able to compete after a few hours with Djoker. Yeah, pretty confident in Steph over Fritz, but I think it's going to be a good match. I'm very confident with Medvedev over Hooby Dooby. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I'm pretty confident with Nuno Bourgeois, but he's fun to watch. He's interesting. Cazo, I'll give him a chance. He's very, very likable. Darren Cahill was comparing him to, what's his name? A French player. One of the first matches I watched when I first got into tennis, Sébastien Grosjean. Big serving guy, not super tall. That's Cazaux. He's 6 foot, listed at 6 foot, 162 pounds, I think. I'll give Arthur Cazaux a chance. We'll take a closer look at that. Let's go to let's break down the first one we got, the big one. Djokovic and Mannarino tonight. Let's look at this head-to-head. Cincinnati was the last time they played. Yours truly, was there actually at that match. I have a little bit of footage that I took from that match from courtside. Before that, they only played on grass. It appears that every time they have played, Mannarino has made Djokovic either go to a tiebreak or a 7-5 set, or he's won a set in all these matches. Played at Wimbledon a couple times. I remember that Cincinnati match very well because I thought Djokovic might lose. I remember thinking Djokovic is in big trouble here. And let's take a look. I like Mannarino's approach I don't know if you guys knew this. I didn't know this. You know, I follow tennis so closely. How did I not know this? Mannarino doesn't like to know who his opponent is until 1 hour before the match. Sometimes it gets spoiled for him. Someone spoils the surprise. I wonder if anyone's told him that he's about to play Djokovic yet. But basically, he says, like, he doesn't want to overthink the matches. Sometimes you overthink. I definitely think with some players we see on tour, like the early years for Federer, they overthink their game. They overthink what to do mid-match, and sometimes they should just stick to basics and hit the ball, you know? Anyways, let's listen to Mannarino. This was good.
Manarino dévoile le secret de sa réussite tardive.
I started tequila.
J'ai commencé la tequila.
That
They asked him what's his secret to success.
Not think too much, and
I
you
love
just
Eurosport
keep
France,
going,
so you got the French subtitles
yeah,
there.
sometimes you need to
Parfois, effort
clear your
vieillesse, on
brain
s'est vu et arrêter de
stop thinking about
penser
the
au
past,
passé
and you
et
just keep
continuer.
going. Don't look back
Ne
and
pas
just go.
regarder. All right, so that's the secret to success. Let's read this. This is from the ATP's nice website that they got. They redid it a little bit, made it a little confusing if you haven't looked at it in a while, like myself. Mannarino's don't ask, don't tell policy ahead of the Djokovic clash. I got to say, I really like this approach. 35-year-old best form of his career, 17 in the world, set to face Novak. True to form, the left-hander who plays with one of the loosest string tensions on tour has no interest in identifying his fourth-round opponent earlier than necessary. As he walked over for his encore interview soon after defeating Ben Shelton in a third-round 5-set thriller Friday night. By the way, speaking of Friday, next week we will do another edition of Beer Hall Freitag. So in the middle of next week, do your best with the comments. We'll get to a lot of comments when we open up Beer Hall Freitag next week. Anyways, as he walked over from the encore interview after the Friday night win over Ben Shelton, Mannarino asked the encore interview not to reveal who he's going to play next. 2 years ago, Mannarino found himself facing all-time great in the fourth round of the Aussie Open, Rafa Nadal. Had no idea. Not wanting to know your next opponent within a reasonable time frame is not unique on tour, but Mannarino's approach, waiting until 1 hour before match time, is believed to be the most extreme. I think they're right when they believe that. Asked if there were times that his approach was a disadvantage, such as when he plays a left-hander like Shelton, I love this, or a hard-charging serve and volleyer like Maximo Crasimo, Mannarino said unequivocally, no. Very French. I don't think I need to prepare special for these kind of matches, Mannarino said. Many players like to play with a lefty before playing with a lefty in a match, practicing with a righty before playing a righty, and I think that's bullshit. Sorry, bullshiza. This is one of the reasons I'm struggling to find partners, because people, they're really, really intense in their preparation. They want everything to be perfect. For me, that doesn't matter. Yesterday, I was too tired. I played for like 15 minutes with my coach, and I said, no, I don't want to hit any more balls. I've been playing enough tennis the last few days. What a refreshing approach from Mannarino. By the way, I had a comment I meant to get to earlier. This is a great comment. This is one of the best comments I've seen in all time. DJ Steep 7463 says, is it just me, or is Matt looking younger every year? It's true, my friends, and I'll tell you my secret. And le secret is, just like Mannarino shared his secret, it's not tequila. It's not French wine. It's not coffee. It's a French skin product. You got to get it in France. I can't reveal the exact name, but I think you can figure it out. It is a le crème pour le pénis. And the secret is you ajoutez le crème pour le pénis, not on le pénis, but on le visage instead. So the penis cream goes on the face. A lot of people wouldn't figure that one out, but I figured it out myself. But where do you get the secret penis cream? Maybe it's Maybelline. I can't tell you. You got to get it in France. That's the secret. Anyways, let's move on. Thanks for the comment. I was there in Cincinnati in 2018, the last time Mannarino played, from my Instagram account. Take a look at this. I had to catch this live. That's the Djokovic coaching box, and that's the secret drink. Everyone wants to know, what do they do with the secret drink? I saw a video recently from the Aussie Open where the coaches are making a human shield so no one can see. And Djokovic is there. You can't really see him, but you can see Mannarino on the right side. All right, anyways, here's a highlight from that match where in the first set, Mannarino was really outplaying Novak.
Imagine if the sun was out.
Incroyable. Super. That was awesome. Anyways, how do I see this match going? I'm spending a lot of time talking about this. It's probably going to be a blowout. We know Djokovic is going to beat him for sure. I give Mannarino a chance. You know, Mannarino's been in 5-set matches every time. I think he'll set some kind of record if he does 4 matches in a row that go 5 sets. I think that's highly unlikely, but he is very tricky to play. He's very frustrating. To me, Djokovic looks like after he took out Etchesketcheveri, I told you guys that was not going to be a big challenge for him. After he took that guy out, who played well, but Djokovic played better. You know, Djokovic is starting to get into his true form, so he's going to probably be able to handle Jannik Sinner, whoever he's got to play. I think he's going to get Mannarino, and I give Mannarino a chance at 1 set, but I'm going to say 3 sets in true to form from the past. Mannarino will get a 7 in there maybe. There might be a tiebreak or a 7-5 set. Mannarino's, I think he's a lot of fun to watch, a unique player, but I'm going with Novak. Let's talk about Arthur Cazaux. I really like this Cazo guy. I've taken a much closer look at him than Mr. Nuno Bourgeois, who took out Grigor Dimitrov. By the way, do I have my Grigor Dimitrov? I don't know if I have the stats. I'll just tell you now. Dimitrov won that first set. The second set, Dimitrov had 7 chances to break Nuno's serve, I think in a few different games. So lots of chances. You know, it'd be one thing if they all came in one game, but he had multiple chances in multiple games. And then after that, the next set he lost in like 20 minutes. I mean, I don't know what happened with Grigor. Maybe he's hurt. Maybe he's got a cold now. God, that reminds me of that press conference. Somebody literally asked Djokovic if he's had a COVID test yet. You know, hey, we noticed you're blowing your nose, Novak. Have you taken a COVID test? Would you like to take a COVID test and have the Australians deport you out of the country again? Because some of us would like to see that. There's haters everywhere. Haters in the media. Haters in the stands. Not just hecklers. Haters, too. Anyways, what made me think of that? Oh, yeah. So maybe Grigor is sick or something. I don't know what's going on. But, you know, the thing about Grigor, he looks just like Federer in his strokes. You know, I love watching Grigor, always have, because especially now if Federer's gone, you get to see a little piece of Federer still, it feels like. But the one thing that separated them is Federer's serve is one of the best of all time. Much better than Grigor. Although Grigor has been serving better as of last year. That's why he looks so good coming into here. And Federer way more aggressive. Way more aggressive. Not even close. You see Grigor make a lot of the same moves as Federer, but typically Federer, would just push it so much more. Applying the pressure, taking the ball earlier, doing everything he can to hurt you all the time. And Grigor tends to sometimes kind of let you bring the game to him and just kind of use his legs and hang in some rallies and wait till there's really a more obvious chance to attack, whereas Federer would. The guy who invented the saber, it shouldn't surprise you that he finds ways to attack when a lot of people wouldn't think there's an opportunity to attack. Let's go back to this Frenchman. I really like this guy a lot, Cazaux. Nickname, this is from the ATP website, Le Caz. I love this. He discovered tennis at age 3 when his father was watching Nadal at Roland Garros. He says that he had a shock when he saw Nadal, and he asked his parents to buy him a tennis racket immediately. This reminds me of the early days. I didn't know many people played tennis, no one in my family. He began playing tennis against the wall because nobody in his family played. I did the same thing. Says that his parents are his heroes and Nadal is his idol. Favorite shot is the ace. Who doesn't like hitting an ace? Anyways, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the French fans have been all over the place. This one's kind of a silent film, but take a look at this. This is Mannarino and Ben Shelton. And it's not always good to start something like that because look at these French fans. They're hanging up the phone on them. Anyways, all right, so roll into this. This was Hugo Humbert who saved 3 match points in a row on the returning serve against Hubie Doobie, who's got one of the best serves in the world right now. But before he lost that match, he goes into the crowd to be with these French fans. It's pretty cool to see something like this. We're going to France? We're going French? Nous sommes les Français? I get that one. Let's go, Hugo. Anyways, all right, so skip ahead. I knew I liked Cazaux when I saw this. This guy's a funny guy. He's a character.
What about your crew?
Take a listen to this one.
They were all night. What did you get from them?
I don't know what I did to stay like this all the match.
I don't know what I did to get these French fans so fired up.
No. Thank you to all the French people who came to see.
Thank you to all the French people in the world.
They pushed me in every point since the first day, even against
Wait for it.
Jerry. They helped me a lot during my match.
They helped me a lot during my match.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
Do you even know them?
No.
I love that response. Do you even know these guys? No. Very French. All right, then he did this. You know, I rarely pick against Talon Greek sport. Going into this, if I didn't know anything about Cazaux, I would have went with Talon Greek sport, but I really liked Cazaux after I saw what he did with Olga Rune.
See the double thumbs up to say he was
Look at this.
okay.
He falls in the
it was
match.
even better to see him.
And he bangs out some
knock out
push-ups.
a couple of push-ups.
I love this guy. Take a look at this. He beats Olga Rune. And then take a look at this. They know each other from juniors. It turns out that he's got a winning head-to-head on Olga Rune from Les Juniors. And he said that helped him. He said, you know, you're going against a top player, but it's a guy that you've played before, that you've beat before, so you know you can do it. But let's go to Mannarino. Here they are practicing. This guy's been around. Cazo and Mannarino hitting back in 2021. The story with Cazo is he was number 4 in the world in juniors, and then he's had a lot of injuries as he tried to transition into the pros. So maybe we would have seen big results from him earlier. But he's had so many injuries, and like I said, Darren Cahill said he reminds him a lot of Sebastian Grosjean. Take a look at this. You guys might remember this. One of Federer's last tournaments. He came here to play on the clay in Geneva, die Schweiz. And there's our buddy Cazaux on top. I think he's 18 years old at the time. He's playing Adrian Mannarino. Take a look at this. Boom!
Oh, no.
Slap it between the legs. Let's get the long hair. I mean, that's a...
Wonder
You might remember this because this highlight made the rounds back then. No one knew who this guy was, but that is one heck of a tweener. I mean, he didn't just crush it, but he put angle on it. It's like a cross-court tweener. Anyways, so I wanted to look at some results. So first, there's that. Back then, 2021 Geneva Open. Cazaux beats Mannarino. The next day, Federer loses to Pablo Andujar, one of the last matches we ever saw Federer play on the tour. And then the day after that, Cazaux goes down to Pablo Cuevas, who Peter Freeman, coaching tennis coaching genius and guru of tennis, who he's going to be spending a lot of time with Pablo Cuevas pretty soon. They're doing a tennis camp in South America pretty soon. Anyways, I want to show you a few results from Cazaux from last year, just to say maybe we could have seen this coming. Thailand. This time last year, what was Arthur Cazaux doing? He was beating fart-faced Lloyd Harris in the finals of this place in Thailand, a challenger. Beat Denis Novak. He entered the Sandman, Tennis Sandgren, Prajnesh Gunneswaran. Don't know that guy. Don't know those guys on the bottom, but those are some good players there. Even though they were on the downside at the time. Then, do you guys remember when everyone was really excited about Andy Murray's Wimbledon last year because he won in Nottingham on a challenger tournament? Well, look who he played in the final, 6-4, 6-4. That's keeping it close against a grass court expert. Beat Dominic Koepfer. Don't see any other names people would recognize, though. And then there's also this result, which is his last tournament coming into here. Nouvelle-Calédonie. Took out Benoit Paire 6-2, 6-1. Harold Mayo, Enzo Kukaker. Anyway, so that's the story with this guy. Is he going to win? I don't know. Hubie Hurkacz is going to be very, very tough. One last thing I wanted to show you guys. Hit the music because we're going to get out of here. I'm excited about Cazaux. I do not think he's going to beat Hubie Doobie, but I give him a chance. Got a big serve, moves very well. I'll tell you one more interesting thing. I heard that at the Next Gen ATP Finals last year, very recently, a couple months ago. He was an alternate, didn't get to play, but they had a skills contest. Who could run the fastest in like a 10-yard dash? Who can jump the highest? 4 different tests, feats of strength. Guess who won all 4 of them? Cazaux. The guy's an athletic freak. We'll give him a chance. Watch that match. This could be a player of the future. Let's look at Alcaraz. Before I get out of here, I'll give you my picks really quick. Djokovic in 3 over Adrian Mannarino. Steph wins over Fritzy Boy in 4, maybe 5. I think Demon and Rublev could go 5. I'll go with Rublev, but I'm nervous. The crowd is going to be so pro-Demon. Not sure about that, but I'll stick to my guns on that. Sinner beats Kachanov in 4. Hubie wins in 4. Medvedev beats Borges in 3. Zverev beats Scam Nori in 4. And Alcaraz beats Kecmanovic in 3. Alcaraz has looked incredible. I haven't talked about him much in the shows that we've done so far, but take a look at this. I love Alcaraz forever. He's such a nice guy. He's so great, but take a look. He reminds me, I know there's no sound here, but look at this. He reminds me of the big 3 all mixed up. From this position, he hits that open stance forehand and whips over his head just like Rafa. A little bit of Rafa there. Now let's look at a little bit of Roger. Give us some Roger. Runs it down like Novak Djokovic, slides into it. Who hits a drop shot when your opponent's 10 feet away and wins? Only Roger Federer. And Adrian Mannarino, apparently. He hit a shot like this, too. Look at this thing. Cool little tweener you got there. Be a shame if something bad happened to it, like I hit a drop shot that you can't get to from 10 feet away. It's so good. Unbelievable. A little bit of Federer there with the hands. You know, you don't see Rafa and Djokovic hit drop volleys like that too often. And then here's a little bit of Djokovic. A skillful lob. Running this thing down, sliding it around. Actually, last time I saw a shot like that was Federer against Kyrgios at the US Open. But the movement. Only do you see Novak Djokovic move and slide into balls like that. You know, maybe Rafa a little bit. Anyways, thanks for joining us today. It's been a real treat to have you here, you know. We will be back, probably not tomorrow. Maybe. Definitely by Monday. Comment below your picks. Do you agree with mine? Also, what do you think about the Djokovic theorem and all the stuff I talked about at the beginning of the show? I'm curious to hear. I might not get to it next time, but I'll be scanning for the best comments for Beer Hall Freitag next Friday.